Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Super Sunday Show. This is Arsenal Fan Circle here. Pull up a chair. You're all welcome. We're going to have a little bit of fun today, and we are going to try to stay humble, right? Today was the Stay Humble Derby, the return fixture of the Erling Haaland and Gabriel rivalry, and we saw flashes of that today. 5-1. I thought that we would win today. I thought it would be a close game. I predicted a 2-1 win to Arsenal, and that we would continue searching for the form that we had last spring, searching for the form that produced 16 wins, one draw, and one defeat in the second half of last season, searching for the formula where everyone in the team started to score last spring. Let me know if you think that we are there. I think we're close to getting to that point where Liverpool fans are tuning in and Liverpool fans are looking for Arsenal to slip up to make things a little bit easier on them because I think Liverpool fans know that they fell away in the last 8 games of last season. They went as far as April. Liverpool and City hung in there with Arsenal as far as April last season. Well, Man City, they're in a rebuilding phase. Yes, they lost a key component of their team in Rodri last season, but today was all about Arsenal and the resolve that we had after going level at 1-1 to turn back and say we are not losing today. And that was embodied by Thomas Partey and the way he thumped that second goal in. Um, yeah, David Raya. Listen, the whole team played really well today. This was a full team performance. David Raya, he's got to be the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. I've been saying this for a time now. The fantastic world class save from Guardiola in the first half, and again to close out the first half against Savinho. Didn't have any chance with Haaland's goal, but that's what Erling Haaland can do when you are not in position for the full 90 minutes. Erling Haaland coming into this game with five goals in his last 5 games. And when I saw that, it was almost written in the stars that Erling Haaland would register a goal. But that apart, Arsenal were fantastic. Kai Havertz, he doesn't make things easy on himself. He misses the kind of chance that you dream of every day to present itself to a striker. And then on the breakaway, he's able to score a more technical goal than that. So that's just who Kai Havertz is. We'll probably talk about the transfer window is going to slam shut tomorrow, and I still feel that it's crazy, right? Aston Villa could sell Ollie Watkins, but you got to look at the PSR issues that they're engaged in right now, and they're bringing in a couple of loans in Asensio, maybe Felix, and definitely Rashford is coming from Manchester United to Aston Villa. So Aston Villa did a lot of business last summer. They brought in 7 or 8 players. So they've done a lot of restructuring of their squad, restructuring of the team. So watch that for tomorrow, deadline day. And for me, even if Ollie Watkins is injured for 4 or 5 weeks, I think it's business that we should do, business that we need to do, and Kai Havertz needs to share the load a little bit with another striker. But with that, we'll get into the comments here. And Mr. Tom was first in here. Oh man, this is going to be an all-timer, definitely. I'm going to try. Arsenal fans, stay humble. Try to stay humble. We beat 5-1. It's a fantastic result, but there's a long way to go in this season, and we need Liverpool to feel our breath on their necks a little bit. So yeah, definitely I'm gonna have a smile for today. And Tom said tonight's topic is 7-0. Is 7-0 better than 5-1, even if the opposition are shit but humble? Yeah, I think that's the Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest put 7 on Brighton yesterday, and that's just the strength of this Premier League. I thought Bournemouth could do something against Liverpool. Um, soft penalty. Bournemouth hit the woodwork twice, and Mo Salah scoring from open play. So these results, these points are going to be dropped in areas that we don't really foresee. Good evening, really good to see you here as well. Evening, Arsenal fan circle. Thanks for being here, all of you guys. Really appreciate it. Mr. Tom, Mr. Lewis Skelly celebration was hilarious. I bet the mayor of Humbleville knows who he is now. Probably premeditated, right? You have to think he thought about that one. But you wouldn't think that Miles Lewis Skelly would pop up, and that was the goal. That probably the third goal was Miles Lewis Skelly that sort of made us feel at ease. Then hope you're all well. What a result, says Brady. Stevens in the house. We need a striker. Yeah, we need a striker and the backup striker. Well, can we call Kai Havertz our striker and our backup striker? Can they share the load like at Aston Villa? Ollie Watkins and Duran, whereas the 1-2, 70-30 minutes split. Um, and then we have Kai Havertz and Watkins, hopefully. Stands in the house. Fantastic win, definitely. I don't know about the champagne though, emoji right there. So we have to stay humble, and Arsenal will. There's no doubt about it. Arsenal will. We go away. We go away to Newcastle next. A quick word about Newcastle. A month ago, I said you never know what things will look like a month from now. And listen, Newcastle, they were really hot in strong form in the last 5-6 weeks with Alexander Isak and Gordon especially tearing it up. But Fulham stole a win up there yesterday, and will that dent Newcastle's confidence a little bit? Will this win for Arsenal push us forward to thinking we're only 2-0? We're 2-0 down at halftime in the Carabao Cup. I didn't write it up. I didn't write it off. A lot of our fans, based off of the performance in the Carabao Cup, wrote off going to the final of the Carabao Cup. And I just see that Newcastle game on Wednesday night as whoever is going to score that first goal has a real chance, obviously. I mean, it sounds pretty right. It's pretty self-explanatory. Newcastle scored the first goal. They're 3-0 up on aggregate. It looks like a long night for Arsenal. Arsenal get the goal back, and it's 2-1. And you never know what can happen. So yeah, things can change very, very quickly. But we'll let you know. I want to see what everyone's thinking about that one. And I see Tiger and Gunnar in the chat as well. Come on, the Toffees. David Moyes has started to put some wins together. And we're looking at. We looked very closely. I looked very closely at the Bournemouth game and watched it, hoping that Liverpool would drop points, any points. I thought Bournemouth would be good enough to beat them on the day. Didn't happen. So points are going to get dropped in unexpected places. Look at last season. Liverpool lost to Crystal Palace in April. They drew Manchester United. So these things can happen. Strange results can turn up anywhere. After years of getting battered by City, it's time the wheels turned 360. Take a moment. Mikel Arteta is not perfect. Mikel Arteta makes mistakes. Mikel Arteta takes time to trust other players in the squad. He's taken time to trust Ethan Nwaneri, But now I think if you take this Mikel Arteta back to September, October, he would absolutely put one area in Odegaard's place when he's injured. And now we're seeing one area coming on and scoring goals for us from that right wing position that Bukayo Saka is injured from. So Mikel Arteta, yes, he makes mistakes. He's slow to trust younger players, especially. But got the feeling when you saw the camera pan over to Mikel Arteta when Ethan Waneri scored that last goal, and say, yeah, this is a player. This is a player that I can trust. And, there's a long way to go for Waneri to assume the trust that he has in Bukayo Saka. But games like the midweek game at Girona when Waneri scored, and games like today when Waneri comes on with 10, 15 minutes to go in the game and grabs himself a goal that seals a 5-1 win. So this was a five-star performance. This was, a very, very convincing performance, really. And, it's Mikel Arteta for all of his deficiencies, and he has some. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. I can't remember the last time in the league, especially. We've been humbled by a bigger team. It's been a while since Man City beat us. Quite a few years, actually. Probably 3 seasons back now. Um, Liverpool. It's been a while since we lost to Liverpool in the league, and any other team. Yeah, Newcastle, Bournemouth. They've been there. They've humbled us today or this season. But we're finally have it's come around 360 ready, and we're definitely to the point of where we feel confident when Newcastle or Man City rock into our stadium, and we can take care of business. The train up to Newcastle on Wednesday morning will be rocking, and yes, I'll be there. Can't wait. First away of the year. Yeah, it's a long trip, really. So we will hopefully hear you in the away section, and hopefully the players they can't write this off as a just going up and fulfilling a fixture in the Carabao Cup. The amount of belief that they will have gotten not only from this win, but the win against Wolverhampton Wanderers with Calafiori last weekend. And let me just say, really, really nice to have to watch an Arsenal game uh, without controversy, without VAR getting involved. And this is what happens when you score goals and you set yourself apart from refereeing decisions, which can be shocking. The PGMOL can be shocking. So we want to hear you up in Newcastle. Hopefully, Arsenal can put them under pressure the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and get a goal going into halftime, and then it's game on. And you never know what's going to happen to Newcastle at that point. It's all about psychology, and the psychology of today in the league is that Arsenal may be playing themselves into some form, and it comes with a very hard-fought win at Wolverhampton Wanderers after tying 2-2 at Aston Villa at the Emirates. That was kind of a crushing performance, a crushing draw. Felt like a defeat at the time, but back got to get back on the ladder again and go back on the horse again and go. Um, there's still 14 more games to go, and Liverpool started faltering in the run-in last season. So we got to be there with 10 games to go, and we have 4 to 6 games before we get into that 10 games to go. So anything can happen in this league, and we have a number of fixtures coming up in February when we come back. So we have 2 weeks till we come back to play Leicester. We're going to take Newcastle game. Hopefully get through that one. It's going to be tough, like I said. Go on a warm weather break and then come back in mid-February to face Leicester. Nottingham Forest will be another tough one like today. Michael, thanks for being here. Great result. Definitely. And The Emirates was rocking today. The Emirates was loud. We heard it. Arsenal are unbeaten this season in the Emirates, and that's going to go a long way to to determining what our season will look like. We have put in a lot of groundwork away from home in the early part of the season. Think about Aston Villa away from home. We beat them 2-0. Think about Tottenham away from home. We beat them 2-0. Very, very unfortunate to draw 2-2 against City at the Etihad earlier this season. This was the return fixture. So very unfortunate 2-2. We should have won that game. Combined not only with the ref getting us down to 10 men again, but also like we should have cleared our lines more. And to lose a goal against John Stones, well, very, very harsh, very, very tough. That's what we did last season. We got a draw there last season, a 0-0. But the return fixture, we beat them through a Martinelli deflected goal, 1-0. And today, very important to get those home points and drive home the work that we have done away from home. Um, like I said, beat Aston Villa away, drew with Aston Villa home. 4 points that we didn't get against Aston Villa last season. We beat Tottenham, home and away. So that mirrors what we did last season as well. So these are going to be important games. Bournemouth are coming to the Emirates. Chelsea are coming to the Emirates. Brentford are coming to the Emirates, and I think things get a little bit easier for us now. We've checked off a lot of the big games against the big teams. We've played City twice now. So it's getting to the point where we will be playing teams in the lower half, and that's where the points have to be picked up. Monotonous, right? We got to get monotonous 3 points. They got to be almost boring, routine 3 points, winning 4-0, 5-1, things like that. I'd have taken Rashford. We've missed a trick there, I think. There's something Arsenal must know in the market. If you ask yourself if you'd take Rashford or you would take Ollie Watkins. Well, I think you'd say Ollie Watkins is the player that you want. I don't know the extent of the injury that he picked up yesterday, or if indeed it is really an injury, But I would still take Ollie Watkins tomorrow if we could. And the bid, I was checked on this on Thursday night. I'm still going to say Arsenal came in with a 40 million bid for what is a 29-year-old player. And Aston Villa wants something close to 60. So, 55, close to 60 will probably get the job done. And Arsenal will definitely do something tomorrow. We need to bring somebody in the door. I hear you. If you're going to say why is it taking all of this month to get things moving, to get a player in the doors? I wanted, you want a player in sooner as well. But dominoes have to fall, things have to happen. Aston Villa have to be assured that they're going to get. They have Rashford in the house. They have João Felix maybe in the house, and Asensio on a loan as well. So, and Aston Villa have to deal, right? They're never going to get 55, 60 million for Ollie Watkins again because he's getting older and it's just a depreciating asset. And they have PSR issues. They have a contract that they have to pay him. He's probably the highest paid player, one of the highest paid players at the club. So Rashford is going to go to Aston Villa, and we'll see what he looks like at Aston Villa, and if Unai Emery can rehabilitate him. I know a lot of Arsenal fans were not interested in trying to rehabilitate Rashford as well. Kai Havertz ain't the striker. The amount of misses is incredible. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he needs to be more efficient, and I think Ollie Watkins can be more efficient in front of goal. Ollie Watkins will miss chances as well if he comes to the Arsenal player. A month is a long time in football, right? Exactly, ready. And that's why we were woeful. We were woeful against Newcastle, and the world class finisher that Isak is was shown to us. North London forever, whatever the weather. These streets are our own. Tiger and Gooners in the house. Stay humble, eh? Yep. Um, Tiger and Gunner said, "Come on, the toffee." So, you know, it's going to come down to a, a handful of games. Liverpool are going to pick up some wins, especially at Anfield, but it's going to come down to those half dozen or 6 or 7 games where we're waiting for them to drop points. And Arsenal are not in a position. We've been playing with a lot of jeopardy in the last few weeks, and it's kind of concerning that the fixtures have thrown up Liverpool going first. Liverpool getting 3 points first, and Arsenal have had to respond. Well, we did respond. We responded today to them beating Bournemouth, and we responded last week at Wolverhampton Wanderers when they beat um, Brentford hours before we were to play. I'd like to see that switched around, and the fixture list needs to throw that up a little bit, where Arsenal go first, and it's 6 points right now with a game in hand. But if we get to 3 points, having played equal amount of games, and they need that extra game to get the 6 points, you know what I mean? Um, make the gaps closer to them. Lovely double today, men's and women's beating City. Yeah, you gotta love it. The ladies' game was close, I believe. Miles Lewis, Skelly, and Waneri give them a 9.5 year contract each. Listen, if Tony was here now, he'd be quite happy about the academy players coming through and making a name for themselves. Um, we've all watched, and this has been a bright part of our season so far. When many others have been slightly disappointing, Odegaard slightly disappointing, Martinelli slightly disappointing, even Kai Havertz and some of the misses has been disappointing. Declan Rice and Saka struggling with a lot of games that they've been playing. I'm seeing that a lot in a lot of football. The Liverpool players starting to look tired as well. City players starting to look tired. Arsenal players starting to look tired. Tired. How your season goes, how you structure your season is very important. I think City and Arsenal especially have had slow starts. Liverpool have had a very, very strong start in the first half of the season, and that's going to catch up. That's going to catch up with the Liverpool. They start strong. I think they're going to get a little. They're going to slow down a little bit, and we've probably seen that in the last 5, 6, 7 games. They have slowed down. We just haven't been able to take advantage of it. And Arsenal now, from the looks of this result, 5-1 win over Manchester City, looks to me like the gears are starting to move forward, and we're starting to get into this thing. So we could see Arsenal improve their goal difference, right? Um, we've conceded about probably the same amount of goals as Liverpool, but they've scored more goals than us, and so we want the flip. We want that to flip around a little bit, because goal difference, how fine the margins are in this Premier League race, and it's still a race as long as we don't go past a 10 point gap, right, or a 9 point gap. As long as that gap starts to close up, it's still a race. Um, Goal difference could be important, because we've been playing with jeopardy, and the scope of our margin for error is not there anymore. Now, having said that, our schedule and our fixtures are starting to ease a little bit. Liverpool have to face up to some tough away games. Tiger said Isak lost form as well. Yeah, for sure. And listen, he couldn't. These players like Mo Salah, who was scintillating in the first half of the season, I think he's reached 20 goals already this season. Yesterday, and Isak, they can't. They're not robots. They can't keep playing like this, playing out of the skin for a full season. And some things are going to slow up. Arsenal need to do what they did last spring and just keep going and going. We're going to go through the individual goals and talk about them as well. Rashford is a massive no for me. So I think a lot of them would say no for Rashford because he really hasn't shown the aptitude at Manchester United. And at Manchester United again failing today against Crystal Palace. You know, that project is not moving forward, and Abraham's going to be in under some pressure. Tottenham getting a win today, a good result at Brentford. They have a goal start in the Carabao Cup semi-final. They go to Anfield. Actually, give them a slight chance of getting through Liverpool as well. As I've been saying, maybe the Tottenham team and they're playing for Ange in a cup competition. I give them a chance. 40 million is about right, I'd say. 35 for Watkins. Well, I think we're going to have to play a little bit of balls somewhere between 40 and 60. Obviously, Villa is the perfect club for Rashford now. I agree. I think we're going to be really, I think we're going to see, you know, I think we're going to see maybe what Rashford is made of. He's going to get to play and he's got to address some of the questions that people have about him. Um, really said the best thing about today was even after going 2-1 up, 3-1 up, we did not sit back and invite City pressure. And we sort of caught them on the break a little bit, and maybe one area wanted to play a little bit more and, sent the message to Mikel. You love to see that. You love to see the competition in the squad as well. You love to see players coming forward and scoring some goals and proving a point to the manager, making it difficult not to start him. So everybody played well, right? Martinelli played well, but Martinelli didn't get on the score sheet today. But this is the pressure. This is the competition that one area wants to place on Mikel Arteta, and this is a great thing as well. Mikel's got to manage our resources. Bring in a player or two tomorrow, Arsenal. He's been saying some things publicly in the media that we are short. We have been short this season. We called it out. None of us sat here and said we had a 9 or 9.5, 9.5 window last summer. We all knew that we wanted a forward. Despite Calafiori and Mikel Mourinho coming in, we needed more. Um, the best thing is we did not sit back and we invited pressure uh, and invite City pressure. I don't see a problem with criticizing player when they miss a gilt edge shot, just like they should be celebrated when they score. Yeah, and I think I saw just before going live, Stan. I think I saw Kai Havertz saying, really should have buried that chance. The player has to be embarrassed. Has to be embarrassed when he misses a chance like that. But at the same time, Stan, you might recognize the player's got to have, amnesia. He's got to forget that really quickly, put it out of his mind because you can't go back. You can't rewind time and take that chance back. So you go in at halftime. Kai Havertz goes in at halftime, redoubles his efforts, and says to himself, next time I get a chance, I'm going to bury it. You know what I mean? So the quality the quality of the chance that he did score was much more technically difficult than the chance that was presented to him by Declan Rice's interception. I have on 26 minutes. I have exclamation marks on Havertz misses. So Gary, I hope you're having a good time traveling away. Hello, hello, and evening, Gary. Yeah, so let's get into it. Put some more questions and keep the chat going. I've got a glass of water here as well. It'll keep my throat and my voice going as well. So yeah, who are you? Right? This is what we. All right, stay humble, right? But who are you? As Erling Haaland said, who the heck are you? Well, I think we know. I think he now knows who Miles Lewis Skelly is, and even loved the foul that he drew from Haaland when Miles Lewis Skelly took the ball deep in his own left back area and took the ball past Erling Haaland, drove the ball out of his box. Um, Numerous examples. Thomas Partey. I'm going to give Thomas Partey man of the match. If you watch this channel, you know what I'm talking. You'll know what I'm talking about. Mister 24 turns up on 24. You know, Mister 24 turns up on 24. Game 24. Um, but yeah, definitely. Um, Game 24. Thomas Partey was immense, absolutely immense. Listen, Stan, I think I'll try and see if I can drop you the link as well. And Stan will be joining me on Thursday as well. So let me see if I can just do that real quick here. I will just turn off the cam. So uh, keep listening for a second. Thomas Partey, let me know what your thoughts were on Thomas Partey. If he was, I thought he was immense for today. Okay, so hang in there with me, everybody. I'll get Stan in here to join me as well. Okay, and we will continue the discussion. Put any questions in you may have as well. Fantastic 5-1 win against Manchester City with Pep Guardiola beside himself again. Things you love to see, right? We don't like this Manchester City team at all, and all right, Stan. So check that out. Here we are. Drop the link in for you, and Stan can join us in a second. Okay. All right. So that was my brief overview, and we'll get into the game now very quickly. So, all right, there we go. Stan should be able to join me pretty soon, hopefully. Things to talk about, right? Thomas Partey, I thought he was immense today. The way he's able to beat the press. He's just very press resistant. Manchester City could not deal with our press as well, and we needed Thomas Partey to be able to release the pressure on us as well. This was a really, really huge game for Arsenal in the sense of, Arsenal needed these 3 points, as I said. My question before the beginning of the day as well was before the game started, could Gabriel stay cool? My fear was that Gabriel Magalhaes would become embroiled in the confrontation with Haaland, and he's always been very, very calm, cool, and collected. He's always been able to have that physical confrontation with Haaland and not let it be a situation where he picks up unwanted yellow cards or even a red card. I did notice, and most of you probably did notice, was Erling Haaland moving from Gabriel Magalhaes to William Saliba. I wasn't hugely worried about that because I thought both of them could deal with him equally, but maybe William Saliba is not quite as suited as Gabriel Magalhaes for that physical challenge. You know, Stan, how are you?
Well, what's there to be unhappy about? I'm
Nothing.
fantastic, thank you.
We just have to stay within the humble settings You know, can't get too can't get too far above those humble settings or too far below it. You know, if we're preaching stay humble, we probably will need to stay humble. But you know what it's like on social media. We got all sorts of Arsenal fans, all sorts of age groups as well. You know, and some of it is involved in the banter, right? Isn't that what they call it, the banter, Stan?
Yeah, and as I kind of put in the chat box, and I kind of got into it a little bit with a couple of people online. It's sort of like the insinuation that we're not allowed to criticize anything that we see, especially in the heat of the moment in the match. We're sitting there in front of our televisions with our phone in our hands, and we're looking what people are saying. And when you see a player miss a gilt-edged chance like Havertz done, I don't believe that that player should be beyond any form of criticism.
Yeah.
Obviously, criticism can be constructive. It's not what
Absolutely.
you say. It's not what you say. It's how you say it, right? And I don't believe there's a problem with constructive criticism. And to paint a picture that anybody that does have any kind of a criticism is any less of a fan, and that's sort of like, yeah, they're going to crawl back into their holes and all that sort of thing, that really balls my piss. Just as much as when that player puts it right and scores a goal in such an important game, they can also be celebrated. I just don't see
Yeah.
a problem with that.
Yeah.
What I see a problem with for me is what I call toxic positivity. I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. I'm allowed to criticize and I'm allowed to celebrate, for someone that's supporting
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And the thing with this is, look, we've seen City and Liverpool with that rivalry, right? And they've generally been high scoring games. They've been free flowing games. The thing with Arsenal is we're built a little bit differently. Mikel has, whether we like it or not, and some of us don't, he's built a house from the bottom up, right? So we're not getting our pants pulled down by big teams anymore. You know what I mean? And so I'm thinking, Stan, that this is going to be a close game. You know, it's 1-0. We're going in at 1-0, but Havertz has had a gilt edged chance in the 26th minute to give us some breathing room. 2-0. Because you're always thinking City are going to come back at you. They're going to take a chance, right?
Exactly. And for me, one of the biggest excuses in football for me is when players say, oh, such and such player has a loss of confidence. I get that for a player, perhaps in maybe a player like Marcus Rashford, who's been exiled for the team. He's training on his own, and then perhaps comes back into the team and makes a couple of fumbles because they're trying too hard. I get that, but when you've
Yeah.
got a player who's on a very comfortable salary, has the backing of the manager, is playing in a team and is being picked regularly in a team that's challenging for the title. For me, I just don't understand why they've got no confidence.
Mm.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's no different. It's
I
no different. What I'm saying
and
about
I.
the toxic positivity and the constructive criticism, it's no
Mhm.
different than in my job. I consider myself to be quite a good salesperson in my job, and I have a lot of victories. But if I ever, fumble the ball and I let a gilt-edged sale walk out of the door, and my boss sees that, he's going to sit me down and he's going to give me some constructive criticism of
Yeah.
where I could have like maybe changed my tactic so that that sale doesn't walk out of the door and it's another sale for us and the business. And I have to take that on the chin. And that's in my normal day. That's in my normal job. So I don't see why that can't be transferred to football.
No, I definitely agree with you. So let's take Kai Havertz and just talk about his day then, Stan. So I think the thing as a professional footballer, and you're right, people have framed it as like, oh, he's lost his confidence. Well, I actually think you have to forget about that. As a professional footballer, you've got to forget about the chances you've missed and know the next one's going to come along, and have that confidence in yours. He had confidence in himself to score that second goal,
Exactly.
the
The
second
point is
chance.
that the reason that he missed that first goal, that first opportunity, I should say, it's got nothing to do with a lack of confidence, but it's got more to do with poor decision making and shit finishing. And it's as simple
Right.
as that. It's as
Or
simple as that. And
or you get
if you don't criticize a player in those moments, how are they going to improve?
yeah.
Are we just supposed to sit on our hands and
We
say nothing?
you
Because
know the other
overall,
thing, Stan. You know the other thing people say he had too much time to think about it. He's an instinctive, so that's kind of where I'm going with this one. He had too much time to pick a spot and for that open goal. But now open goal, right? You have a goalkeeper and a defender standing on the line. You still have to pick your spot, but you still should be hitting the target. But at the same time, you know, the goal that he did score was more instinctive for him. That move was something they would have practiced maybe in training all the time. You know what I mean?
and overall, he had a good game. Overall, if you're
Yes.
looking at the whole of the 90 minutes, he had a
Yes.
good game. He scored a goal, had an assist, tracked back, worked hard for the team. But in that moment when we were 1-0 up and he had that gilt edged chance and he misses it, it's going to frustrate you and you're going to be critical of it. I'm not saying that gives you the right to threaten him or his family or anything like that at all. That's not what
No.
I'm saying. But you
Yeah.
can be constructive in your criticism
Yeah.
and say like you can say something like, "Don't tell me that we don't need a striker because we need a striker that when they get those kind of chances, those gilt-edged chances, they'll tuck them away." And it isn't the first time that he's been guilty of doing that. So of
Yeah.
course you're gonna mention it and bring that up.
I mean,
But
even last weekend, right? At Wolves, he had three headers. Uh, he had he had a volley, he hit straight at the goalkeeper. He just wasn't clinical enough, and we needed another member of our squad, a player who came off the bench in Calafiori, to score that goal at Wolves. Now that win at Wolves has set us up for this one as well. You know, so we must remember these things. Great win for you guys. Might shut up the Arteta out club for a couple of days. You know, it's, every club has got sections of the fan base who are just almost waiting to say that their thoughts were right about the manager. Uh, and look, I clearly acknowledge that Mikel Arteta has made mistakes this season, as I've referenced earlier in this stream. Havertz has been a successful transfer overall. However, he should not be the first choice striker for a club like Arsenal. We're going to
no
get into
comment.
tomorrow's window as well. Stan, I don't know what's your feeling, because I feel like we're going to go get Ollie Watkins. Everything points to us needing a player, and we're too far down that rabbit hole. Despite him maybe being injured, I think we're still going to finish the deal tomorrow.
I just look at it this way: if you're Aston Villa and you've got two strikers and you've sold one already, why are you going to sell the other one, even if it is for a sizable transfer fee? What time do they have left to go out and get themselves a replacement? So what are they going to do? Have to if they sell Watkins to us? Does that mean that Villa are quite happy to field somebody from their reserves
Well,
or their
I
academy to play up front?
I
They're
think
in
that
Europe and they're fighting for fourth place as well. I don't understand how they would leave it so late, even though they've got the money in the bank. How are they going to find a replacement?
they're bringing Rashford in and maybe Asensio as well and João Felix. They have a relationship with Chelsea. You remember they sold a couple. They transferred a couple of academy players to make the books look a bit better between Chelsea and Villa at the start of the season. You know, so
I just felt that if Arsenal wanted Ollie Watkins, there was plenty of time a few weeks ago to have laid the groundwork and gone in with that first
yeah,
bid.
yeah,
And then if that first bid isn't rejected, to have enough time to negotiate. I'm not. Nothing would please me better to wake up tomorrow morning and see that we have Ollie Watkins among our ranks. Because when it comes to being a clinical number 9, I think he would be better than what we have.
yeah.
But there's also a part of me that kind of feels. I mean, West Ham used to do this all of the time: put bids in for players that they knew they couldn't get, so they could just turn around and go, "Well, we tried." You can't say that we didn't try and do something. And there is a
It
little bit of that.
will.
I do feel a little bit of that. But
It will definitely.
as I say, if I wake up tomorrow morning and we've signed him, I'm not going to complain because he is better, I believe, than what we already have.
And it will definitely be embarrassing if Arsenal's been linked with Aston Villa for that striker, and we're not able to get it over the line. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Tomorrow is going to be another I don't know if Jim White's still working, but I always feel like it's Jim White day. You know what I mean? Uh, I think we'll cover transfers instead tomorrow. Well,
I
let's
think he's
bring it
getting. I,
back.
I think that Jim White is getting his yellow tie out of the dry cleaners as we speak.
West Ham signed Evan Ferguson, so but there had been doubts about his injury record as well. He could be great, but his injury record is a big worry. I think the Ollie Watkins bid is all about we tried, but it just could not happen. So, yeah, listen, until there's a lot of fans, until they see it, until they hear it, they won't believe it, and I respect that as well. Um, Stan, we started really well today. After only 2 minutes, our press was brilliant, and we forced the Kanji into a mistake.
Yeah, that happened really quickly. I got up, set the TV up, went into the bathroom to brush my teeth, and when I came out, they were celebrating a goal. And I'm like, what did I just miss? It's only been 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, and this is a situation where Havertz does do well in this situation. He freezes the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's got to respect the fact that Havertz has been played through in on goal and may take the shot, but quick thinking, he finds his old mucker, Odegaard, in the 6 yard area.
Yeah, great, good, fantastic goal. And again, good awareness by Havertz to square the ball like that.
Yeah, and this gives me this result and the way we played like this sort of gives me a feeling like we had last spring. Remember last spring we were putting 4 and 5 on teams, and I know we have to see more than stringing more than 3 wins together because that's all we've done this season is strung 3 wins together and then a draw. But it really gives me a feeling like we're starting to get you know I know it's irritating because you've mentioned it, right? um, we haven't had many players who've gotten a brace for us this season because braces have been rare, you know what I
Very
mean?
rare. Yeah. I mean, who
Well, you
knows
can
when the next hat trick will be coming along?
yeah, listen, if that's the way we're constructed, as long as we're scoring 4 and 5 goals, it won't perturb me, it won't bother me too much. But you can see here we put 14 games unbeaten now, stretching all the way back to Newcastle away from home. Um, you know, a number of there's been 4 draws in there, but 10 wins as well. So that's not a bad points haul, considering everything that's been going on this season.
No, I mean, Liverpool are 6 points ahead of us, but they have a game in hand, which, theoretically, you could say maybe 9 points. And I
Yep.
say that because I just don't believe that the referee cartel is going to allow Liverpool to drop points. They have that working in their favour for me.
Yeah.
Whereas you can even watch the game today. Yes, we won 5-1, but Trossard getting kicked when he's on the ground, Bernardo Silva getting away with one, free kicks that weren't free kicks. You can definitely see that if they can spoil it for Arsenal, the referee cartel, then they will. And I
Mm.
know that we can all take a victory that Miles Lewis Skelly had his red card overturned to make him available. But I don't look at that as a victory because I think that's just going to wind up the cartel even more and make them even more staunch on scrutinizing every single thing that we do on the pitch
Yeah.
because they're petty. They're petty like that. They're not able to just hold up their hands and say, "Yeah, we got that wrong. Let's move on." They want to punish us for their mistakes because in their eyes they've been shown up by us when really the adult thing to do is just to say, yeah, we made a mistake and let's just move on and do our jobs officiating games without any kind of revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. This, I think both of us started. I don't know who went first with this one, maybe you, but I definitely have been talking about this. That they've been tilting the field in favor of other teams. You know, I think Liverpool got favorable refereeing when they came to the Emirates. You can't tell me 4 or 5 red cards that happened to Arsenal this season. I can't see very many examples of those things happening. There's no what do you call it in court where there's like a precedent, right? Is that what you call it? There's been no precedent. Uh, there's no book on this that's ever happened before. and we haven't seen it since. You know what I mean? So I do believe, I do agree with you. There is an agenda in there, and in some way, shape, or form, Arsenal and Arteta regenerating Arsenal and maybe being a bit emotional and forceful about it has turned them against us a little bit.
I would totally agree with everything you just said there. To be
Yeah,
frank,
started in previous seasons where there was this campaign against Mikel Arteta. He was just stepping beyond the hash marks on the sideline. That was frowned upon. Whilst you see other managers doing exactly the same thing and don't get criticized. Um, what else? What else happened? He's shouting at referees and oh, and the dark arts, the thing that has been applied to Arsenal over the years, and we've been beaten up over other teams doing it to us. Well, we just learned on the streets. We just learned the hardest way how to do that. We grew up and started doing the same things. Corner kicks, free kicks. Uh, we've been bullying people physically, and I thought that was okay. To do this. We're doing it within the rules, but that became a thing as well. Nobody worried about Liverpool or City doing that either. Um, but anyway, we'll park it. We'll park the whole the mafia thing, but which I think is a real thing for now, and talk about the game. You know what I mean? We're supposed to be enjoying a 5-1 win over City, and I thought it was just nice that we didn't have too much controversy today. I thought the referee was not horrible. I thought Peter Banks did a good job.
really,
Michael, yeah, I thought he did okay. Yeah,
I didn't. I
and it
think
was
he
a
let a
couple.
lot. I think he let a lot of things go in Man City's favour. Trossard getting kicked while he's on the ground, nothing for
Yeah,
that. Bernardo Silva, he got away with one. There's nothing for that. There's no VAR jumping in the referee's ear and
yeah, it
telling
was
him
a
to
very
take a look. And you know that if it was the other way around, if it was one of their players on the floor and Trossard had kicked him, the game would have been stopped and it would have been, some kind of a punishment. So I actually feel that we won the game today in spite of bad refereeing. That's how I look at it. Because
yeah.
I think that the referee was more in their favour.
We didn't really have to go to VAR today at all. Listen, I'll take on board what you're saying and basically agree with that, but I didn't see anything egregious in, in my estimation. Anyway, David Raya, Stan. How about David Raya? Listen, I've been talking about David Raya as being possibly the best goalkeeper in the Premier League right now, and he steps forward with a huge save on 23 minutes. With City had come back into the game after Odegaard scoring the first goal, and Guardiola has a header and a fantastic reflex save from David Raya. I think David Raya has been one of our better players this season.
Oh yeah, he's definitely worth his weight in gold, and I'm definitely glad that we have him between the sticks. Very good goalkeeper.
Yeah, and if you're
And
gonna
you could,
win, if you're
and you
gonna
could
try
see.
to win anything, you have to have
Did
a
you
keeper like that.
did you see him when Party scored his goal,
Uh,
celebrating and smiling and pumping his fist?
yeah,
Good to see.
yeah. I was. We'll jump to that real quick. You mentioned Thomas Partey. I was definitely. It looked to me like I was thinking he was going to wallop that. You know what I mean? Other people the crowd was saying don't shoot, but he intercepted that ball from Foden, and it just dropped for him in a way that he could take a touch really quickly. There wasn't a player coming out to him. I felt confident he was going to wallop that. Obviously, didn't know what the result would be, but ended up in the back of the net. Happy days.
And that's what you want to see players doing. Instead of getting the ball and then trying to work it round into the horseshoe of despair,
Yes,
sometimes you've just got to go for it and take it and
which
have a shot.
I thought Miles Lewis Kelly had a great game overall, but I thought the horse he was being coached into refusing those things in the first half when he ended up on the left wing after intercepting a ball. He didn't put it into the mix because the commentator said Havertz had two people on him, and I think Trossard maybe was in there as well, but maybe refused to do that to take that on, which was like, oh no. Mikel Arteta's getting his coaching into Miles Lewis-Skelly, but later we would see uh, a little bit of adventure. I don't think it's a bad thing. When you think about it, the two goals that we did score to go ahead and to go 3-1 up were kind of players taking the onus on themselves to do something. You know, it's very on Arteta kind of way, right?
Yeah, I mean, and when they scored their goal, I didn't even have enough time to start feeling worried and nervous because we responded so quickly. By
Yeah,
the time I was thinking, oh no, here we go, I didn't even finish the sentence in my head, and we responded in such a good way. So that's good to see.
yeah, yeah. A little bit unfortunate. What are your thoughts on Saliba? As you were joining me, I was talking about that. I just feel like Haaland's going to switch between the central defenders, and we let him switch off of Saliba and onto Gabriel and vice versa. But my thoughts are Saliba's that silky kind of player, but maybe not positionally perfect for headers, for aerial things. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts between the two of them?
Well, I think our central defenders done a really good job today because it seemed like ages before Haaland was even able to get a touch of the ball.
Yep,
He basically had nothing of the ball until he scored his goal.
yep,
So he managed to keep him quiet, and I thought that defensively, not just as a back four, but as a team, I thought we made some important tackles today and won some really important turnovers to start us on the counter attack. So I'm very pleased with the way that we defended and the way that we went forward. All round,
yeah.
all round,
Nothing David
basically, I was
Raya
very
could do with
pleased with
that
what I
header. That was just a fantastic header from Haaland. Um, he gets the jump, he gets to direct it into the corner. You did, like you said, Stan. We didn't have much time to worry about it because Foden. I don't know what Foden was doing. I'm glad he did it, but trying to pick out Marmouche, I think was the guy they were talking about. Thomas Partey seizes on it and wallops in it, and you take a shot. Sometimes good things can happen. You can get a deflection like that.
Yeah, you got to go for it sometimes. And like you say, I didn't notice that, but if the crowd was telling him, don't shoot, I'm glad he didn't
Don't
listen to
shoot.
them.
Yeah,
And again,
yeah,
you talk about players lacking in confidence. Well, that is a player that isn't lacking in confidence because he wouldn't have had the grapefruits to go for a shot like that.
yeah. Uh, he had. I'm going to put Thomas Partey forward as man in the match for me. I thought he had a great game, press resistant, was able to get us out of some tight situations in the back, just outside of our own penalty area. Combined with David Raya's passing, there was a couple of needle threading the needle shot passes to Partey, and he was able to release through and beat the pressure. I thought him and Declan Rice was slightly quiet, was kind of quiet today,
You
but I
think so?
thought,
I thought it was very good.
yeah, you thought he was good.
Yeah.
It's just
I,
funny, isn't it? Like we can have different observations
I think there's a
of the
lot of
same thing.
players that are up there to be nominated for man of the match because I thought it was such an all round good performance from the team.
Performance. Yeah,
But even though we managed to put 5 goals away, we were lucky that it was one of those days where we managed to spread the goals around the team. But it's not like we do that in every single game. It's good when it
yeah,
happens. So that still tells me that we are missing something at the sharper end of the team. That on those
yeah,
days when we're not able to spread it around the team, that we've got someone that we know that if we can get the ball to them, you know, they're going to, out of 3 opportunities, maybe they'll get 2 of them. Rather than if they've got 3 opportunities, they might only get 1. That's the difference. And I think that's where
yeah.
we are with the people that we have available to play up top, as in Gabriel Jesus and Havertz.
Mhm.
They're more likely to get 1 out of 3 chances than 2 out of 3. And
Yeah.
that could be the difference of winning the league.
We think alike because when you were saying that, I was going to reference Gabriel Jesus over Christmas. Right, he scores a hat trick against Crystal Palace. We beat Crystal Palace 5-1. I think that's the game that Saka got injured, and the week before that, we beat Ipswich Town, who are struggling all season. We beat them only 1-0. at the Emirates as well. So there's definitely situations where we win 5-1 one week and only 1-0 the next week. And we've just done that in the last two fixtures. Wolverhampton Wanderers away from home, 1-0.
One
And
moment, I'll be
today,
right back. I'll be
yeah,
right
and today a 5-1 win against Manchester City. Manchester City team that people feared were coming back and on the way back. And I need them to be on the way back a little bit because they do have to play Liverpool at the Etihad as well. And that's we're looking at fixtures as Arsenal fans. We have that six point gap, as Stan said, with possibly 9 points if they win their game in hand. We're looking at fixtures where we need not necessarily help from other teams, but we need the Liverpool to maybe fall off a little bit and drop some points. AFC always is everywhere. Skelly's unbelievable. One Harry Star boy needs to be drug tested. So that's because they were just that good. You know what I mean? I I was thinking about it as well. Like Miles Lewis Skelly's had more opportunity to play to take minutes in the team, and so he's starting to show his qualities. And maybe not the overshadow is maybe the wrong word, but one area versus Miles Lewis Skelly, they can both help the team. But I'm thinking Miles Lewis Skelly's having a better season because he's having more minutes than one area. But one area is also stepping forward now, Stan.
Well, when Eri is he's not even 18 yet, and he's scored 7 goals already
Yes.
for the team. And at the end of the day, the best commodity in football is being able to put the ball in the back of the net, and he's shown that he's able to do that.
Unbelievable.
And the goals that he scores as well, they're not sort of like scruffy tappings on the end of something.
No,
Goalkeeper
no.
spools the ball and he taps it in. He creates the goal for himself. He creates space, and again, he's got the fortitude to keep his head up and take shots on goals, where a lot of other players would be looking for a pass rather than taking the responsibility of trying to score the goal.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to see that coached out of him. Same with Lewis Skelly as well. I don't want to see them coached into a rigid and stale way of playing. They need to be able to continue to express that freedom.
Yeah. Like, did you think when Miles Lewis Skelly was played in to that inside left channel inside the box?
Yeah.
Did you think he was going to? I didn't think he was going to do that, but
No,
Pleasant,
not at all.
I thought he was going to look for a pass, right?
Exactly.
A square
Yes.
ball.
Exactly. Exactly. I thought that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to look for a pass, and I'm glad as I'm saying that he's got the awareness to see the space and just think, I'm going for this.
Yeah. And I remember recently Ian Wright interviewing him, and he sounds very. He's very probably in the same area as Bukayo Saka. He probably comes from the same area as Bukayo Saka. Looks says exactly the same things and sounds exactly like Bukayo Saka, but again, like just having that. The thing that he referenced against Ian Wright was he's not afraid of nobody. He's willing to take on. He's willing to take on the best. I think he said, in order to be the best, you gotta take on the best. And he's talking about Erling Haaland in these situations,
And he's not even playing in what you would say is his natural position. He's making that left back spot his own, and he's doing very well. But personally, I'd like to see what he's able to do when he does play in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
when he does play in his natural position. And today we've got maybe a little bit of a glimpse of that. That if the opportunity arises, he's not afraid to take the responsibility on and go for the shot rather than think, well, I'm a young lad. I don't want to let anybody down. I'll just square a pass or play it backwards.
Yeah.
And we do have some players in our team who are more experienced than him that would probably go for that option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where I think, as you referenced, the amount of goals that one area has scored for us this season, the play of Miles Lewis Skelly has helped in that left back spot. and now he's weighed in with a goal himself. So Lola, how about that? Listen, here's what I want to see, and here's what I'm hoping to see. Sometimes I project too much. I build up this portfolio of what's going to happen. Well, I think it's starting to happen. Arsenal will start to move the gears a little bit more and pile up these W's, because that's the only thing that's going to put pressure on Liverpool. Liverpool will have a draw here or there, and we'll start gradually eating away at this 9 point gap that it could be. You know, that's the way I see it. Maybe I project too much. Maybe that's just the optimism that I have. But I'm seeing it backed up, Stan, by this performance now
Yeah,
with 5
exactly.
goals. You know, uh, and as AFC always says here, we need to take this into the Newcastle game on Wednesday. Yeah, we're not going on any warm weather trip till next weekend. There's a little bit of business to be done on Wednesday, and whoever scores the first goal in that contest on Wednesday night will be very key, I think, to the outcome on the night. I think, you know, hey, we could score first, then they score again, and it's back to being 2 goals behind, and it could be over. But we have to give it a crack. You know what I mean? When was the last time we beat City 5-1? Wasn't it back something like 2005? I can't remember. Probably the Invincibles. Freddie Lundberg was probably involved in those goals when we beat City 5-1 uh, last time. I'm going to the charity shop tomorrow. I will keep my eyes open for a bit of silverware for us. Well, hopefully, you play this season out because there's hope still, right? As long as there's hope of
I
getting
just
something at
I
the
just
end of the
don't like I
season.
don't like being in a situation though where we're hoping that Liverpool have to drop points. Because even if we go on an incredible run, if they don't drop any points, then they're going to win they're going to win the league.
Well,
I just don't like having to sort of like pray that they're going to mess up, especially as when I mentioned before that the referee cartel, they're going to do everything within their power to make sure that that isn't the case.
Stan, they've drawn 5 games and lost one. So if they win all of their remaining games, they get 101 points. I just can't see that happening. You know what I mean? They're going to drop 10, maybe 10 or more points on the way in these next 16 games.
Do you think so? Well, only time will tell. I mean,
Yeah,
I've got my fingers crossed that that is the case.
yeah. It's gonna.
But we've been in this position before, haven't we? When we've been chasing Man City,
Yeah,
and it's just that odd
yeah.
result for us that puts us a couple of points
It,
behind, and then
it may well.
we're praying that they're going to drop points, and then they don't,
Yeah.
and they win
The
the
damage.
silverware.
The damage might already have been done, but I don't see Liverpool winning the league with 3 games to spare. You know what I mean? I just I think it's going to be close at the end of the day. So close that I'm talking goal difference now, Stan. You know what I mean? As Red John has just referenced here in his latest comment. But this one he put up here, I'll be honest, I truly believe the title was over before this game, but now I'm starting to believe we will go on a 10 plus games win streak. And look, as you see on the graphic down here, we've put no more than 3 games in a row, 3 wins together in a row without being stopped by a loss or a draw. Well, that has to stop. We have to. We've won the last 2. We beat Wolves and we've won today. We have to go to Leicester. We have to go to Nottingham Forest. We have to. I think West Ham or our home game.
But
We
how
got to
many of
start
those
winning.
draws have been down to poor officiating? How many of those draws is because it's been taken out of our hands because of a decision that never was? We were
Uh,
lucky. We were lucky that when we went down to 10 men, that we were still able to get something out of the game.
would you
Otherwise,
say Brighton? Would you say Brighton? Both Brighton games were because of officiating. You know what I mean? The
yeah,
one where Declan Rice, where he kicks the ball away and is sent off. We're leading that 1-0. We can't hold on. Away from home, Saliba challenges for a ball that's in the air, hits João Pedro's head, who's been known to, make things look like they're yellow cards. He gets a penalty, and we were leading that 1-0. Man City away from home, Trossard kicked the ball away. We've we've seen many instances of players kicking the ball away in a split second and not getting yellow cards for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if both of those Brighton games go the other way, then we're level on points with Liverpool, and they've got a game in hand, which makes it a lot more doable, right? It makes it
Yeah,
a lot more feasible that we might be able to get something out of the season as a whole.
yeah. As Red John says, if City beats Liverpool and we do too, that's 6 points out of the 9 taken off the board. So we have to be in a situation where we go to Anfield 3 games from the end of the season, and it's still not mathematically possible for Liverpool to win the title. Then you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And City will be looking to get into that top 4 as well. They had a little bit of form coming into this game, 1-4 and drew 1 of the last 5. So this was not, this they were in form. It's not like a City team that were decimated. When City went to Anfield, for instance, they had lost something like 6 games in a row or something horrible like that, and just was an easy win for Liverpool. Well, this was an easy win because we played well today. I want to win the league because we deserve it. I don't want to win because we rely on other teams doing us a favor. Well, that's the league. If Liverpool don't get the most amount of points, then they don't get to deserve to win it. You know what I mean? Goal difference for me is key. We need to narrow the goal difference down so we don't need that extra point. And
yeah.
look, here's the thing.
I just think that
Brad
as well.
said,
That today's win should give the team a big lift.
yeah,
You know, because City have been such a demonstrable monster, and we really put them to bed today and tucked them in.
put them to the sword. Saka's coming back. It's probably going to be a couple months till Saka comes back. But if we're still in the Champions League and we're still in contention for the Premier League, we'll welcome Bukayo Saka back. Tomiyasu is coming back. Ben White is coming back. So, we don't play for a couple of weeks now in the league again, Stan. So we have an opportunity to bring Ben White back into the fold, Tomiyasu back into the fold. Maybe tomorrow we got some news of a striker coming in as well. So things can
And
very quickly change.
in those couple of weeks, if we do bring someone in, it gives them a good time to bed in, to get to know the team, to understand what it is that Mikel Arteta wants from them in their position. So it's now or never.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I'm not going to say too much about the transfer window until it's shut, because anything can happen.
Well, we'll talk Thursday night. We're going to save that one for Thursday night anyway.
Yeah.
We are going to pretty much, we'll talk about the transfer window and we'll talk about Wednesday night's game in Newcastle. And, hopefully it'll be fun if we're able to overcome Newcastle. We got a cup final to talk about. We just need to be in until March. Saka will lead us to glory. And maybe we're finding one area might be that, that deputy for Saka. Could have been the deputy for Odegaard. Well, hindsight's 2020. Liverpool should be chasing us, but the amount of points we dropped that's why we are behind. We can't keep blaming decisions. It's just an excuse. Fact is, we weren't good enough in those games. And we let slip. We were leading in almost all of the games we drew. We were leading.
So
And
did Ranieri come on today for Martinelli?
well, he did come on. I
What
wasn't.
did he
I
come on
was
for?
caught up. I
And
was
he was
caught
playing on
up
that
in the
right hand side.
when Harry was on the right hand side, so probably came on from Martinelli. I was caught up in what seemed to be a goal fest, although they were 62 minutes, 76 minutes, and 92 minutes when their goals arrived. They were like spread out by approximately 15 minutes
But
each.
because I would say that there's a good argument, because of his goals, that Ranieri should now be considered for a start over Martinelli on that right
Yeah,
hand side, because he's being able to put the ball into the back of the net, and that's no sort of disrespect to
slight.
Martinelli
Yeah,
or slight to Martinelli,
yeah,
but I think that he's engineered himself and put himself into a position now where he should be considered to get the nod, should be
agree,
rewarded, right? You should be
agree.
rewarding players.
I got the feeling when Harry scored that goal that Arteta turned around and thought to himself, "This kid's the real deal." You know what I mean?
Oh, he's different gravy.
He is demanding. He's demanding Arteta to pick him, as you're calling for right now, Stan. His performances are demanding Arteta to give him more minutes. Because okay, maybe Girona was a bit of a dead rubber, right? But um, not Miles Lewis Skelly, but Waneri went there and scored that goal in the Champions League.
Yeah, he didn't play like it was a dead rubber. He played the game to score
Yep,
goals.
yep. And the same when he came on today. So, you know, Arteta might think about him for Newcastle, on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
think
be
he should.
surprised if he starts. Um, and Martinelli is the guy who's sitting on the bench because that's really the way it should be done on merit, right? On performances. Uh, as Arsenal fans, we need to stop blaming the refs, not because refs aren't corrupt, but because the players use social media too. Well, like Stan said, if a player is missing chances, you should be okay to call it out because the player can forget about his missed chance and then score and then congratulate Havertz when he scores that goal. Same thing as well. You have to call out the refs when they are making clear and obvious errors on the field. You know, I don't think. I think the vast majority of people felt that Miles Lewis Skelly's red card was just a yellow card. It was a professional foul against Wolverhampton Wanderers. So why can't we call out the refs and the PGMOL if they're making mistakes and high high caliber mistakes and high profile mistakes? So
Yeah,
listen, I know it sounds bad when Arsenal fans are moaning about refs, but Arsenal fans are the only ones. Are the Arsenal team are the only one who are getting refed differently than any other team in the league. So why can't we call it out? That's my point of view anyway. Um, we don't want to fill their heads with psychological excuses. Red John, I think you are underestimating this Arsenal team. They have a strong mentality. They don't like Declan Rice was quoted a week or two ago about things are different in the stadium. The criticism he hears online, it's not the same as what he hears in the stadium. These players are not buying into psychological excuses. These players are responding each and every time Liverpool win a game. We go 9 points behind and they have to respond with a win. Today we had to respond with a win. And this team is not looking for excuses. The history of the Tottenham, maybe the history of the Tottenham, they look for excuses over there at White Hart Lane, but I don't feel that our players are looking for excuses. They're looking to put pressure on Liverpool. And a result like today, 3 points on the board, uh, you better believe the Liverpool players were watching that game. You better believe they were sat at home with their roast chicken and their mashed potatoes and gravy, and they were watching Arsenal and they're saying to themselves, "Okay, Arsenal, Arsenal are stepping it up now." You know what I mean? And we've got to go and win our next game. Our next game is the Merseyside derby with David Moyes. I mean, best not make if they start if they draw a game when we get closer, Stan, this thing can snowball. You know, you start looking over your shoulder. It can be tricky for Liverpool.
yeah,
The Invincibles didn't care if the refs were against them; they won anyway. Well, I think the same thing is happening with this team right now, right, John? I think we as the fans, we're looking at the big picture, but I think the players they have to as well. Stan, the players have that blinkers on, right? Focus on what they need to do.
yeah. I mean, they're going to be going away soon for their warm weather break in Dubai, which seemed to work wonders last time. I just hope that when they do go to Dubai, that we've got at least one addition to the squad whose job it is to create and score goals.
Yep. Um, AFC always says Arteta said that Saka could be back next month. Yeah, next it's the beginning of February, so next month could be the end of March, which is 6 or 7 weeks away.
I don't want
So
him rushed back though.
yeah,
I want him to come back when he's
agree.
ready and ready to play at the level that we know, rather than rushing him back. We shouldn't be doing that. And if anything happens to Kai Havertz, then we're really going to be in a bad place. As much as he does miss some chances, we still need him.
Yeah,
And
you,
there's
you
and we're so close within touching distance. We need to reinforce to cover
look at our
ourselves.
substitutes. Look at our substitutes bench today. I didn't get all of the names. I haven't. I think, but we got Zinchenko, Kivior, Calafiori, and Tierney. All extensively their left backs,
Yeah,
right? Or defenders, right?
they're
Then we
just
got
taking up seats. They're taking up seats because there's no one else.
right. We had Jorginho and Mourinho. They're midfielders, and one area and Sterling. So
The only
we
real
could
attacking person there is Waneri, because
one area
Sterling, bless
Sterling.
him, he's not able to. He's not able to make a meaningful contribution.
Yeah. So
Another one
we
who people
agree.
say is lacking in confidence, which I
Yeah.
don't buy into. Well, I don't understand. Why should he be? Why should he be lacking it? He's just moved across to a team that's fighting for the league. He is being given minutes. Maybe he's not being given as much minutes, because when he does be given minutes, he's not making any differences.
Yeah.
He's with a
He's finding
manager
it.
that knows him from old and made a big deal about bringing him in. So I don't understand why he should be lacking in confidence.
Well,
This should be a boost in confidence. If anything,
what you
moving to
have.
Arsenal should be a boost in confidence.
Yeah.
I've moved to a team that's fighting for the league title. I've got a manager that knows me from old and made a big deal of bringing me in. I'm being paid comfortably. It's up to me now that when I get those minutes to try and stamp my authority on the team to get more. And he's not doing that
Yeah.
for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
You come into a team that is not struggling, and you're getting minutes
Yeah,
when
it's
we're
not like he's
playing
going to a
well.
team that's in the bottom 3 or 4 of the table and he's being expected to carry the team on his back
Yeah.
and work
Yeah.
miracles.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, you're a professional that still should be at toward maybe the twilight years, but you still should have something about you. And you have a kid from the academy who's stepping forward and producing more than you and giving more than you. So have hopefully you can step up a little bit, Raheem Sterling, so we
In
can
the real
see
world, with Saka
some
being
value.
out, and all things being equal, Wanari should be struggling for minutes because Sterling's
Yeah.
ahead of him and should be doing things. But
Yeah.
that's not the case.
Not the case because
Not the case.
Arteta, who is famously close or slow to bring a younger player in, doesn't think twice about bringing one area in over Sterling now, you know? And that probably wouldn't have been the case in September or October. Red John, thanks for all the comments here. AFC always and Red John are in here solidly. If Havertz didn't get that goal, he could have been seriously psychologically affected by that simple miss. Or just go to the next game. I think professional footballers, they wipe the slate and they say, we got a fresh game at Newcastle, and the club demands that we be professional and go and win that game to the best of your ability. You can't be missing chances like that, though, especially in Champions League.
And again, as much as I will be critical of Kai Havertz for missing that chance, I will also give him his flowers for doing exactly what Red John there has said, that he didn't sit on that, take it to heart, and get into his shell. He still continued to try, and he got his rewards. He got an assist and he got a goal. And I will give him his flowers for that. But it doesn't mean that because we won the game 5-1 and he got an assist and a goal, that I can just overlook gilt-edged chances that are being missed. Because on another day, that could cost you the game.
Mm-hmm. This is a good point here. If we hadn't gotten the red card overturned, you wouldn't have seen Miles Lewis Skelly today score that goal and as Stan said, we had a lot of good performances from across the whole team. Miles Lewis Skelly's would be up there as one of the best performances today.
I'll be right back. I need to get
Um,
more juice.
all right. Um, After Skelly's goal, City basically gave up. Yeah, I think as a professional footballer, when you're getting the run around on the pitch and you're not at the races, right? They got their goal back against maybe against the run of play a little bit. They got a goal. At that point, maybe Kevin De Bruyne could have come on. I happen to think now that there's some kind of an issue between Pep Guardiola and Kevin De Bruyne, that he's not using him as much. And this is probably Kevin De Bruyne's last season at the club. And Man City are in a little bit of a rebuilding phase. Like, I did worry about this Marmouche being, a prolific striker that he could turn up against Arsenal. Historically, Arsenal have been the team that hand out gifts to new players coming to the league. So yeah, basically the heads dropped. Well, what happened is, what was good, that Arsenal were starting to feel themselves and didn't leave it. We weren't gentlemen about it. We didn't leave it at 3-1. We went and we wanted to feast a little bit more. And Trossard was cooking Nunez in that corner as well. Breaking news: Arsenal are set to sign a star striker. Fucking no one. Well, we'll see tomorrow. I think I don't think that an injury to Ollie Watkins should stop that transfer from going through. Arsenal have done a lot of work in that area, and I think Rashford coming in and a couple of other players coming in for Villa, and Villa are in a tough spot. They have a striker who's only going to diminish in value. They have a striker who they're paying a lot of money to, and he's 29 years old, and they're never going to get close to 50 million for him again. So I think they have to, for PSR reasons, they have to take a business decision with Watkins. So watch for that tomorrow. I think things will happen for Arsenal. Arsenal will announce more merchandise tomorrow. That will be 15 new merchandise this season. It's a joke. I honestly don't care about merchandise. It's been 15 new merchandise items this season. I don't know if that's real or not. I just watch what's going on the field. And the other thing I don't care about, it's not my money. I'm not spending my own money, so I don't care about the finances. Arsenal seem to make it work. There's a lot of work that still needs to go into this squad. Next season, there will be players leaving, as is always normal with any club. The evolution of the club has to grow. It has been troubling that Mikel Arteta has not addressed the striking situation realistically in 2 or 3 seasons.
Well,
Um,
what I don't understand about the situation with the transfer window is that, from my understanding, looking at people that know much more about our finances than I do, people like Swiss Ramble, which they go through this stuff with a fine tooth comb. As I understand it, in the kitty already, we've got about 155 million or so sloshing around. We're good with FFP and all of that sort of financial fair play stuff. Our books are in a good place. We're healthy there. And so far in the Champions League, we've made around 89 million euros, which is around about 75 million. So all told, that's around about 220 million or so, which is available. And even if the check hasn't cleared yet from the Champions League, it's coming. So, the owners shouldn't have a problem with, if we need to go big on something, putting the money in, knowing that that check is coming. And yet we're one day away from the window closing. And it looks like now we're trying to get things in order when we should have been getting things done just before the window opened. So that when the window opens, we've got someone coming in. And that's what annoys me. We're not scrabbling around. We've not got our cap out looking for donations. We've got the dough. The dough is
yeah,
there. And at the
yeah,
end of the day, money talks. You've seen that with Aston Villa happy to sell John Duran to Saudi Arabia because the money was good.
yeah,
And if you're saying that it's going to cost around about 150 million, and maybe that's euros, to get someone like an Isak, If we've got that kind of money, why can't you just go at the beginning of the window and say, here's £100 million? Let's start from there. What do you say? And see where it gets us. If Isak is the one that is clearly wanted, or if the manager sees that he is the one that can really make the difference, rather than going to your second, third, or even fourth choice, why don't you push the boat out to get that first choice if you've got the dough? Come the
Yeah.
summer, there'll
Well,
be other sales and other money coming in from where we finish in the league, and that will then top up the funds that we spend in January. I don't
yeah.
understand the thinking. I mean, maybe I've missed something and it's not that simple, but I mean, if the money's already there, what's the issue? And if our books are
And
balanced and FFP and all of that kind of stuff isn't an issue for us, why are we dragging our heels?
I think the straw that broke the camel's back, Stan, was and it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be the way. But Gabriel Jesus out for 9 or 10 months till the end of this calendar year, and that was early in January when we played Manchester United and went out of the FA Cup. That I think that's the only thing that triggered Arsenal to feel that we need to bring in reinforcements in this window.
But if it was a trigger, why wasn't it acted upon a few weeks ago? Why are we still here with 1 day to go? Because, as I say, it'd be great if we could get in Ollie Watkins, but I just don't see how Villa. If we were Aston Villa fans on Villa fan circle, Aston Villa fan circle, for example, and we've just sold John Duran,
Yeah,
who does make things happen.
yeah.
He scores goals. He does make things happen, and we sell him. They're getting around about, with all of the add-ons, it's going to come to about 90 million. I think 77 million is the upfront money.
77, yeah.
Why would we be happy about us then considering selling the other striker and Ollie Watkins in the window if there's nothing else going on?
Agree.
And Jake, people talk about Rashford and João
Rash,
Felix. They're not
yeah.
exactly setting the world alight where
No,
they are they?
no, no.
So I don't understand how that's going to be, how that all falls together
Yeah,
without there being backlash from the supporters. Because if it was
yeah.
happening to us, would we be happy about that? I wouldn't.
No, no. But
And
you would also,
Russ is
you would
talking about that
also,
they've signed Donald Mallin, but he's a wide player.
yeah,
Mallin's a
yeah.
wide player. He doesn't really operate through the middle, whereas John Duran and Ollie Watkins do. Is now the time when you're trying to, you're fighting for Europe? Is now the time to weaken yourself? I don't think it is.
Well, they have PSR issues. They are crippled by PSR issues. Listen, we were here in the summer, and certain people mentioned, look at Aston Villa. They've signed 7 players. So they
Are there
brought a lot of players on.
are there PSR issues so bad that they can't wait until the summer to really balance their books, that they have to get rid of both of their strikers in the January window?
Listen, I think a lot of clubs will keep that close to their chest, but I think that might be the case. And look, we're gonna sit down for the Thursday night forum, and on Thursday I might be able to tell you, Stan, I was way off on that one. I wasn't. I never. Maybe it was a smoke screen for someone else. That Ollie Watkins is still a Aston Villa player. You know what I mean? And he's going to line up with Rashford on the left and maybe Asensio on the right, or Bailey on the right. But I have a feeling that there's no smoke without fire on this one. So they brought a couple of players in on loan, and that those two or three players, are not just to replace John Duran, in my opinion.
Maybe maybe the Watkins is a smokescreen. Maybe there is someone else that they've been trying to negotiate with, and it's taking its time. And so Arsenal was saying, okay, if you don't want our money and you're not making the decision, we'll spend that money elsewhere, which may encourage the selling team, if there is a mystery out there that we've been talking to maybe step up and do the business if they need the money. But who knows? I just feel that they're leaving it a bit late for me. And I don't want to. I thought we were done with the supermarket trolley dash at the end of the season. I thought those days were over.
Yeah. Listen, unless the way some transfers take 10 months of the year to discuss, and then they press the button in the summertime, right? So this could be 3 weeks in discussion right now since Gabriel Jesus was injured. That time frame is just, and that could be why it goes till the end of the window. And clubs look at things in a more, it's like you never really. Sometimes you don't want to fill out your paperwork. You have a deadline to get it in at work, and you have 2 weeks. Sometimes people, I'll fill that in later. I got to get some information to add to that paperwork. I'll do it later, and then it gets to the night before when you have to do it. Could be that situation.
And
Sterling's under.
we still haven't really replaced our sporting director. And I'm just wondering that if Jason Ato, who was, working alongside Edu, who is now, I don't know, what do you call it, interim football director? I don't think he's been given the role at 100%. Does he have what it takes, the personality or charisma to command himself in discussions like Edu did? Because whether you like Edu or not, he's got more experience. So, this time tomorrow, we'll know where we are.
Yeah.
It's within 24 hours or so, we're gonna, I think it's around 24 hours if my time's all right. I mean, I'm
20. Add 3 hours onto that. 27 hours from now.
Okay, not much. So in 27 hours from now, we're going to know exactly where we stand for the rest of this season. And if we haven't made any reinforcements, I don't think we've got enough, because Gabriel Jesus isn't coming back. And we're not sure how long, we've got to work Saka back in. He's got to get up to, he doesn't just wake up and go, I'm fit now, and he puts straight back into the squad. He needs to be brought back up to speed. And my worry is that Kai Havertz, is he going to be able to last? And not only that, if he is able to last, will he be able to maintain the level that he's at now, which could be improved upon? The level he's at now is good, but it still came, and they're missing that chance today. And like what you mentioned in the previous games,
against Wolves. Yeah,
exactly.
Three good chances, 2 at the head and 1 connection with a Trossard.
He's going to need a breather at some point, right? Yeah. He's going to need a breather at some point. And someone else needs to come in.
Look, you're talking about the game. The games are gonna come thick and fast, because what we have right now is probably easing off of the fixtures that we can get to warm weather training. We're not in the FA Cup, unfortunately. We have one more game in the Carabao Cup. If we don't win, we don't get to a final, but there could be a final. And then we have a stay of execution from the Champions League until we get to the knockout stages, which is probably the middle of March. So we have 4 or 5 weeks where we're probably just concentrating on league games. And those league games will be important to place pressure on Liverpool. But pretty soon, Stan, if we proceed in the knockout stages of the Champions League, April and May especially will be Premier League bread and butter, and then Champions League midweek games. So they're going to come thick and fast, where you're playing 3 games a week again. And so that's why tomorrow will be important to get not just bodies but quality in the door as well. I think I've been pretty hot on Brian Mbeumo, but is he really of the standard that Arsenal demand? Is he as good as Trossard? Let me just throw that out to you. You know what I mean? Player like Watkins is better.
You say, is he as good as Trossard? But I mean, Trossard does run very hot and cold for me.
Yeah,
and is a bit of a streaky player.
Yeah. Do you think the turning point was us getting that second goal so quickly after Man City equalized? Definitely, I do agree with that. That was an FU. That was an FU goal. Like what's the guy's name that scored in the Bakary Sanya? when he scored that header against Tottenham. That was an
Yeah.
FU goal. You know what I mean? It's like we're not having this today. Man City, don't get comfortable thinking you're getting back into this game. And just a great hit from Thomas Partey. And surprisingly, one of our better players this season who stepped forward uh, has been injured the last couple of seasons. Red
But
John.
again, he is
Mhm.
another player that, you say the games are coming thick and fast, 3 games a week. Thomas Partey is a player that needs to be managed.
Yep,
You know?
I agree with that.
He's no
Yep,
longer up to that, fitness wise, I don't think so. He's going to need to be managed.
right. And we saw
Take care.
Jorginho play a Champions League game midweek, and Partey played today. You know, which is the kind of thing that Mikel needs to do. Tommy Asu and Ben White, a couple of players coming back that's going to help Urian Timber and maybe help Miles Lewis Skelly, because Urian Timber was on a yellow card today and it worried me a little bit after 20 minutes only. 25 minutes, Timber gets a yellow card. That's 75 minutes that you have to concentrate for and not pick up another yellow card. Regarding Kai Havertz's mental health over the missed chances, it didn't bother him at Chelsea. I think he needed a lobotomy. I think again you have to have a short memory as well. In these, as a professional footballer, you can't worry. It's what's happened has happened. You have to just take your next chance. I'm very sure now if that's all you got. I'm very sure now if that's all you got. Um, are you sure? Because you're the one who doesn't even know how to spell lobotomy. All right, guys. We did win today. We did win 5-1. So
Yeah, you should be popping champagne bottles.
I've
I
met
mean, it
peace
was
with it.
as well. It was a convincing win as well.
Yeah,
It was a convincing win, and they rolled all of their dice, bringing on players like Kevin De Bruyne and things like that. Being able to go into the transfer market and spend, at will, and bring in a player like Marmoush, having a player like Erling Haaland, who seems to be able to again get the ball in the back of the net at will. And
yeah,
as AFC always is everywhere says, Gabriel had Marmoush locked down. So
yeah,
we won that game convincingly. We didn't scrape through. It wasn't like 1-1 and we managed to nick a header in extra time. We cruised to the finish line.
yeah. And we got to a 3-1. What was most pleasing is we get to a 3-1 victory, and then you'd expect like we'd keep the ball and see out a 3-1 win, which is fine, right? But we went and took our chances when they presented to us to get 4
Arsenal
and
players
5.
didn't want that game to end. They wanted
No,
that game to keep going to score more goals, whereas Man City couldn't wait for the final whistle. You should have seen, you must have seen their body language after a couple of the goals that we scored, players bending down from their hips,
yeah,
broken,
yeah.
just like wanting the game to end.
So
It's convincing.
City are good enough to get top 4, but they're not going to be involved in this title race.
No.
They're so far back. AFC always is everywhere. I've made peace with it. We're not leaving this period of success with a single title. Other people can delude themselves all they want. We'll be talking about the exact same failure next season too. Listen, I think it's difficult to maintain the level of success and to be always there. And that's what these players are doing now for 3 seasons in a row. They've been thereabouts, and they're going to knock the door down at some point. You know, Declan Rice will drive them forward. Bukayo Saka will drive them forward. Saliba and Gabriel and Raya. We've assembled this team, and we know we have to add more pieces. There's talk of Zubimendi coming in. There's talk of,
The summer.
huh?
But the summer, though, that's happening in the summer. It's not, if it's
Yeah, the
going to happen,
summer.
it's not happening now.
Not tomorrow. Villa have signed Malin and are signing Rashford as well. I think that's a here we go. I know you don't follow the here we go, but the
No.
Rashford is a here we go. Arsenal failing to win the league would have been slightly bearable if we were able to pick up some cups here and there. Problem is Arteta absolutely stinks in cup competition as well. All right, let's address this. Listen, I don't think
We finished third in the Champions League on the same points as Barcelona.
so. The reason why we haven't won cups, is because we don't have a striker. We don't have a striker that can get you 20 goals. The last time is no coincidence, Dan. The last time we won a cup was when we had a striker who could score 20 goals a season. And Mikel Arteta's been late to this party, realizing you need a striker to win things. And I think it's finally dropped for him. It's like, we need to get a striker in here to finish off all of the chances that are being created now.
Yeah, that's the one thing where he's kind of failed us a little bit. He spent so much time tinkering around with the goalkeeping position and the defensive position. And yeah, you do need to be able to build off of a solid platform from the defense. But it does seem that we've made a few shortcuts when it's come to the sharper end. I mean, why did we? I still don't understand why we dragged our heels getting Isak in for 63 million, but Newcastle didn't. Sometimes you've got to roll the dice. Now we're looking at Isak, and it's well way above now if we want to look at him. And I feel that that's going to happen with other players that we might have on our shopping list again. That we don't pull the trigger, and then the value continues to go up, and puts them out of our budget. And then we're looking on the list again at, okay, who was the second, third, and fourth choices that we've got there, rather than going out and getting that number one choice. Let's talk about this Matthias Tell. But for me, I mean, he's still young. He's 19 years old. Where we are at the moment where we've been able to challenge for this season and the past two. Do we really want to spend money on another 19-year-old, or do we want to be able to spend the money on something that is proven? We haven't got the time to experiment with prospects and coach prospects. We need someone that can just come. It's like that. It's like a jigsaw puzzle when there's that one piece. You want to be able to just get the piece that fits rather than getting one and trying to hammer it in just to get rid of that hole.
It
needs to be ready made, and that's. And I think that if that's the case, we need to be more decisive on making those decisions.
We're good. We are good enough to win a cup.
City didn't fuck about. They went straight out and bought Marmoush.
Yeah,
they didn't drag their heels.
This team is good enough to win cups, even if you have a manager who admittedly will make mistakes with the lineup. If you make a mistake with one area and don't play him, and you suffer Odegaard being out by playing Trossard or other players, we did not win league games because of that. We didn't win the league games because we didn't have a striker who could take the chances consistently. Like you said, Stan, Havertz is 1 in 3. He needs 3 chances, maybe sometimes 4 chances to score a goal. The likes of Ollie Watkins needs, 2 chances to score a goal. And until you go out,
margins make the difference.
Yeah, and you're not going to win things unless you have a striker.
See, I don't understand why some of our fans seem to just fall in love with the player just because they're wearing an Arsenal shirt. You can upgrade on a player.
Yeah.
If you've got the money and there's a player out there that's better than the player that you've got, I don't mind waving bye-bye to that player. I don't attach myself to them in that way. To me, I look at them as units of production. That's what they are.
Liverpool,
they're units of production. And if they're not producing and we can spend the money to upgrade, I'm all for that, personally.
Yeah. Liverpool won the league with Salah, but there was another important player in the Liverpool side that they would not have won the league if they didn't have Sadio Mane as well. So you need those goals to come from somewhere. And Liverpool won a league 4 or 5 years ago, won the Premier League because they had Mane and they had Salah.
And Firmino.
And Firmino to a lesser extent, right?
And Jota. Someone that can come off the bench and not just like run around and take up space like an Eddie Nketiah, that can come off the bench and actually make a meaningful contribution. That when you see them getting warmed up, you're like, oh no, not this guy again, rather than, they're weakening themselves. They're taking off that player and they're bringing on this idiot, which is sometimes how we've been over the past 5 years.
Chris Woods has scored 17 league goals and cost 15 million. Havertz has scored 9 league goals and cost us 65. So make those numbers. That's Chris Wood. They're having a good season. Nottingham Forest are having a good season. You know, we've been down this road before. Nobody could have predicted Nottingham Forest to be in third place in February, right?
Yeah.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody would have said to you, I guarantee you, Nottingham Forest will be third after 24 games, Stan.
Imagine the odds you would have got at the beginning of the season if you put a bet on. Probably really got really good odds for that.
Even if you got them in, if they finish in the top four, that would have been a juicy price right there. Everyone celebrating Jesus' hat trick is like getting your car to start after being parked up a year. So I'm not telling how far it's going to take before it breaks down again. And guess what? It actually did. Listen, it was a flash in the pan, Jesus. I don't know.
I just want to answer AFC Always, where he says, we ain't winning the Champions League. Come on, can you obviously see us beating Real Madrid? I can guarantee that we will get knocked out in the last 16, if not the quarterfinals. But the thing is, there are no guarantees in football. I never woke up this morning rubbing my hands together thinking that we would beat City 5-1. I didn't. I didn't. I thought it would be a tougher game. And there was a part of me thinking, like, today could be the day that our championship fight could end if we don't get anything out of this game. So there are no guarantees. Like, you couldn't get like just like what Ray just said a moment ago. You couldn't guarantee at the beginning of the season that Nottingham Forest would be where they are. There were no guarantees when Leicester won the league at the beginning of that season. There were no guarantees that they were gonna win that league. So you can't make guarantees.
Yeah. The only thing is, as Gary is saying here, the only thing that we've been saying as well is a striker, proven Premier League striker, can give you a slightly better chance, with no guarantees, right? Slightly better chance of getting that extra
But the odds
goal.
will be more in your favour, surely. The odds will change. If you look at whatever the odds are now, and let's say we brought in Isak tomorrow, the odds would be much different, right? Yeah. They would change drastically.
Yeah. Listen, but can you guarantee that Real Madrid would beat us as well? You can't guarantee that in a one-off game either, AFC Always. So, but Real Madrid have to beat City as well. That's going to be interesting. They're drawing against each other in the knockout stages of this competition. So the seeding for us, getting the top 8 might be important for us, as some of the bigger teams in that middle section that are going into the knockout stages, some of those teams are going to get knocked out. Like, we could play Juventus or AC Milan. That's what it looks like, but they have to play PSV and Feyenoord or something like that, I think.
Let me ask you a question. If you had to choose right now, and someone put the question to you, okay, what do we have more chance of winning, all things being equal, the Premier League or the Champions League? Personally, I would probably look at it and say that we've got more chance of winning the Champions League now that we've gotten to this stage where we're going to start having like knockout games.
Yeah,
that's just how I feel about it. That's just my opinion.
It's tough because if you're playing well in the league, I don't think there's many teams that can hold us down if we're playing in the league. Like, we could, of the remaining 14 games that we have, we could win 12 of those, Stan.
But in the Premier League, we also have forces that are working against us, as in the referee cartel.
No doubt. No doubt.
Which is why I say that today, not only was I so pleased with the emphatic win, we won in spite of the referees who were giving who were turning a blind eye to things that Man City were doing. And as I said earlier, had that been a Man City player on the ground and Trossard had kicked at him, you would have seen repercussions. I guarantee it. You would have
Yeah.
seen repercussions. If a player had done what Bernardo Silva had done, which wasn't picked up, it would have been picked up because VAR would have whispered in the referee's ear.
Yeah. VAR didn't really get interested too much. Gareth, I was going to get through a couple of quick comments here because it's about what we're talking about. Gary said a striker gives Arsenal better odds to compete for trophies, especially without Saka and Odegaard. They can compensate because for many weeks this season they've been out. A striker can make up the difference from a winger. Champions League stand could be more likely than Premier League, depending on who we play and personnel.
I agree totally with that.
Gary says the Arsenal defense is at a real level, maybe better than Real Madrid level.
I agree with that as well.
We could give Mbappe and Co a good game. You know what I mean? I think we've probably grown. Cast your mind back to Bayern Munich. We were not great against Bayern Munich over two legs. We made some mistakes that you make in the big boys park. I think we will have learned from those mistakes as well. You know, I hear you on that about guaranteed okay. Then do you honestly believe that we would beat Real Madrid? Then I don't. I think it would be a tight game, and it could you're supposed to enjoy.
What I'm saying is that it's not impossible.
Yeah, you're supposed to enjoy football as well, and wouldn't you enjoy Arsenal going up against Real Madrid, not knowing the result as well, not having a guarantee of who's going to win?
And I don't look for easy paths either. These are the games that I want to see because this is how you measure yourself. If I'm playing in the Arsenal team as a defender, for example, I want to go up against the best teams, not look for the easy, like the easy opposition, because you want to be able to test yourself. You want to be able to see where you really are in the big scheme of things. And also that as well, those big fixtures, you tend to raise your game, hopefully, rather than shrink into your shell.
Yeah, as we were talking about here, AFC always says we ain't winning the Premier League or the Champions League under Arteta. We couldn't even beat a poor Bayern Munich team last year. Think about it this way, AFC always. Last year was the first time that Arsenal came back into the competition after 7 or 8 seasons.
Your handle is AFC always, is everywhere, but it sounds to me like you should change it to AFC sometimes. And I'm just saying, right? Listen, everyone's got the right to support the team in how they are, how they want to. Everyone's got a right to their opinions, but I think on a day like today, it should give you hope. And that's I'm not saying that it makes any guarantees, but it should give you hope. It gives me hope.
I think
because I didn't wake up this morning thinking that we beat them 5-1. I thought it was going to be a lot tougher than that.
I had us to win 2-1. I thought it was going to be a very close game, and I actually thought it would be 1-1 with us getting the winner. Well, we got the winner through Partey, but we added 3 more goals as well. That made the last 20 minutes very comfortable for us. It was not a stressful game, and it's great winning.
After a win like today, I think this is the time when we need to galvanize ourselves as a support and really get behind the team and try to give them as much of a lift as we can.
Yeah. The atmosphere was good.
If we do that and we fail, then we can look at why we failed, and that's when we can make noises towards the manager and the board. For perhaps in this example, it might be because they don't do anything in the window.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of these people that's just toxically positive.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We've seen this as well. AFC always. We're probably all about the same age, so we've all seen. I've seen 7 or 8 FA Cups. Stan, you've probably seen an extra. You're maybe
supporting for 46 years. I'm 56. I started supporting when I was about 9 or 10. So that's 46 years.
Yeah. So
I've also seen us get mugged off in Champions League finals as well, and had to suffer that. Do you know what I mean? There's been the good times and the bad times. But
here's the thing: it's about how you want to support Arsenal. It's about how you feel personally about it. if you like, I think Reddy said earlier, there's no such thing as toxic. It's just how you feel about your club. And if you want to be positive, that's fine. And if you want to be a little bit more cynical about the club and how it's moving, that's fine as well. But as Stan said, we should all come together and get behind the team now and start to believe a little bit more. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Arteta is the only one to stop us winning major honors. So I'm going to ask you a question. AFC always is everywhere. Do you think this team without a striker or without additional forwards with another manager, do you think that this team could win things with another manager without bringing in a striker or any more forwards? Like, here's the question to you, AFC always is everywhere. Right now, this team, if another manager came in, let's say, what's the guy's name in Ancelotti, right? Let's say if Ancelotti comes in to Arsenal from now to the end of the season, could he win us the Premier League or could he win us the Champions League? That's the question to you. Without buying any more players.
He didn't. He didn't at Everton.
He didn't.
You know, it's about the environment that you're working in. And as I say, you know, I don't like to tell fans how they should support. I don't, because I don't like it. I don't like it when other fans try and put tweets out saying that things like, oh yeah, all the moody ones, who were talking about Havertz missing that chance, they're going to be really quiet tonight. And I'm like, no, they're allowed to make that comment when he misses that gilt-edged chance, and they're allowed to constructively criticize them. You don't have the right to tell people how to support the club, and I would never want to come across like that. But what I would say though is that on the day that when we've beaten Man City 5-1. I look at all of your comments, AFC always, and I just don't. I fail to understand how you can't see any positives at all, no matter how small.
Well,
any positives. And I look at all of the comments that you've made, and they all are doom and gloom. And that's you're entirely within your rights to do that. But there must be some positives that you can take away from a win like today. There must be something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm not, as I say, I'm not a toxically positive supporter. If you watch some of our shows back from other seasons, you've seen that I've been more than ready to call out the ownership and the management when I see, in my opinion, that mistakes are being made or they're being careless in their judgment, or we go through windows where we don't strengthen them in the right places, and we see other teams, especially our competition, picking up players that we should have gone for, and we've had the money to do so.
Yeah. There we go. Yes, I honestly believe another elite manager will win us a trophy that season when we were 8 points clear in March. Even Wenger or Emery would have gotten us over the line. And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Anything else to mention, Stan, today? Just, we're lucky we have a team now that can compete with the likes of Man City. We have a team who can compete with Liverpool. We have a team that you can feel confident in the Champions League that you will be able to give a game to anybody, even if it is Real Madrid, if it is Bayer Leverkusen, if it is Liverpool, if it is City, or if it is Aston Villa. All of the big teams you can think about in Europe, I think we can hang with those teams now. And we made some mistakes against Bayern that I think last season that I think we will have learned from this season.
For me, right now, we need to be looking at the Newcastle game, because this is our biggest opportunity at the moment to get ourselves into a position to fight for a trophy. And I'll be the first one to criticise if I look at, say, for example, the lineup before that game, and I see, for example, a Zinchenko at left back.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm quite happy to be critical of things like that. And as I mentioned earlier on this broadcast, and Waneri has made a point now, and I think has demanded that he needs to start being picked as a first team player until he shows that he's not able to do that, and that should be his reward.
Yeah, as AFC always, you did shut me up momentarily, but now I'm just cast my mind back when we were 8 points clear in March. We had Ramsdale in goal, and we had some very gnarly results because of Ramsdale and the confidence that he did not inspire in our back line. I'm thinking about a 3-3 against Southampton at home. I'm
And
thinking
debate is
about going.
healthy. Right? I've not seen you. I
Yeah,
don't believe I've seen you in this chat box very often, but the debate is helpful. We don't want people to just come here and all be on the same page. Debate is
yeah,
healthy.
yeah.
And we shouldn't. And your opinion is slightly different to mine at this moment. All I'm saying is that you should be able to take something positive away from the win today. But as I mentioned, it doesn't mean that we walk into the Newcastle game and if we totally balls it up, that I'll give everybody a free pass. It's within our hands to get ourselves to a final. And as an Arsenal fan, that's what I want us to do. That's what I want to see us doing. Challenging for trophies. It might not be the best trophy, but it is a trophy.
No, and the other thing we want to do, we want to be in a situation where this club continually gets built up. We build this club up, so we know the areas in midfield where our players are aging. We know Jorginho and Partey are not going to be there forever. We need to continually upgrade each window. So we mentioned Zubimendi in midfield. Bring him in. We know we need to get that striker. We've been crying out for a striker for God knows how long. You know what I mean? And that's the continuing evolution.
And let me just
So,
say this as well, please, if I make to
mhm,
all AFC odds. I'm kind of the feeling at the moment. I mean, there's 27 hours to change my mind, but I'm of the feeling that the money that we've spent over the last couple of seasons, I'm actually sitting there thinking that the ownership have only just spent enough money to keep us in the top four. They
mhm.
could do more, I believe, to put us into a winning position. And if the window comes and closes tomorrow and we haven't done anything, or we bring in, some 17, 18-year-old kid that could be mustered in a few seasons, that doesn't help us now. So I'm very
No,
willing to be critical of this team. And I do
yeah.
feel that I'm going to repeat. Up until this moment, I feel that we've only spent them enough money to keep us in the top four, to keep those
Well,
checks coming in, but they haven't done enough to put us in a winning position. And I hope tomorrow they go out and do something by the end of the window to prove me wrong, because I want to be proved wrong. I
we
take
need
no I take no pleasure walking around going, I was right. I told you, look, that I don't want, that's not what I'm about. I'd rather be proved wrong and hold my hands up and say, wow, I didn't see that coming. Fair play.
what we need. We need that striker. We need maybe Ollie Watkins that I'm hoping is going to come in, and we need that striker that's going to insulate us against staying as a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw, that we win a game 3-2 rather than drawing 2-2. We have 50 points. We have 50 points for this season after 24 games. If you extrapolate that out to 38 games, we're going to finish on 79 points. And that is only enough for top four. That is not enough. 79 points is not enough
No,
to win
that
this
doesn't win it.
title.
That doesn't win it.
So we both agree on that one. See here, you got a lot of W's, but there's a lot of D's in there, and we need to eradicate those D's and put more W's together. We've only, as I said, gathered 3 wins together um, per season or this season, and to go beyond 79 points from this season, we need to start putting 6, 7 wins together and put some pressure on Liverpool, as I've said. Listen, we'll get out of here. I want Victor Gyökeres, not Watkins. Watkins isn't even that clinical. I agree with you. He's not that clinical, but he gets enough chances to score 19 and close to 20 league goals in a season.
And he's
And
doing it in this league. As
he's
much
doing it
as
in the
Gyökeres is putting the ball away, he's doing it in a lesser league. So there is a slight gamble there for me. A slight
Now,
gamble.
the one thing I want to say as well is that Ollie Watkins is 29 years old. The strategy could be you bring him in for a couple of years and you buy a Gyökeres or an Isak so that they're in 2 years Watkins is gone and this player Isak or Gyökeres is there. Um, So listen, I hope Red John and Stephen have patched it up. We're not that we don't fight in our chat box, and when you win 5-1, you shouldn't be fighting or having a difference of opinion. Let's say Joker's right, not Ollie. We will see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow is so important for our season, says AFC always. Cronkies have to spend money. We still need to buy a striker. I think that the Cronkies will have been told by Mikel Arteta every night. He's probably telling Stan Kroenke, we need to do something. Paying Villa 100 million for a 29-year-old for the next 5 years is mad. I mean, if you're talking, it won't be 100 million for the actual transfer. It'll be probably half of that, 50, 55. But if you're telling me we're going to, so when you give a player a 5-year contract, that doesn't mean that he's going to stay for 5 years. That means you've got an opportunity maybe to sell him after 3 years because he's still got 2 years left in his contract. Anyway, I don't think that it will be a 5-year contract for Ollie Watkins. But I'm not saying I know what's going to happen tomorrow, Stan. We will see. Yeah. Listen, good to see Stephen and Red John are cool. That's what we're all about here. Healthy discussion, right? Stan, you'll be joining me on Thursday night for the Thursday night forum. We will be talking about maybe the fallout from this win, which is a good thing, the fallout from tomorrow's transfer window, and the fallout from Wednesday's second leg against Newcastle.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about. I just want to thank everybody, those new and old, for coming and joining us today on Sunday. It's a pleasure to have you all here as well. For me as well, it's so good to see a lot of you. I've not been on this channel. I've not been here since I think it was October. So it was good to chat to you all today.
Been a few weeks, yeah.
I'm looking forward to Thursday as well, because on Thursday, it's a big week for us. We're going to talk about what we did or didn't do in the transfer window, but more importantly as well, we all know by then whether we can be heading into a final. So I look forward to seeing all of you back here on Thursday. Yeah. And if you haven't subbed, give us a sub and set your bell so that you know when we're here on Sundays and Thursdays that you can come and join us for the debate. Because this channel's nothing without you guys, and you guys in the chat box always have your say, and we appreciate that. Whether you agree with us or not, that's what it's all about. Healthy discussion. No one's right, no one's wrong. We've all got our own opinions and our views. So thank you all for joining us today.
Yep, thank you, Stan. The ambition of Arsenal Football Club will be put to the test tomorrow in the window when the window slams shut. The ambition of the players, if they want to get to a cup final, will be determined on Wednesday night as well. So we'll see what happens. We'll have a lot to talk about. Good show, guys. Look, it's just absolutely, it's just your opinion.
Of course.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul, mate. No harm, no foul.
No. Night. Thanks, Gary. All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you Thursday night, okay?